As of this morning, well, as of yesterday, I now have 20/20 vision in both of my eyes, and my left eye in particular is now recovering from surgery, and that means it's a bit more sensitive to light than it normally would be. So I'm wearing the sunglasses today, indoors and outdoors, obviously, to just kind of help my eye when it's going like, ah, what's going on? I'm not the typical person who wants to get their eye fixed, in that I can't get, or I couldn't get, laser eye surgery, and for a long time I thought that that meant that my eyes would just be broken forever, basically, and now they're not. So I was thinking that perhaps this video could serve as a bit of an education for people who might have the same issues that I do, or similar, or perhaps have been told that they can't get LASIK but really want to get their eyes fixed and haven't been told about anything else that they can do. When I kind of found out about laser eye surgery initially, I thought like, oh, this is going to be amazing. One of the big things that I really didn't like about contacts and glasses is water. I used to do a lot of swimming when I was younger, and I was basically blind as soon as I took my goggles off. And it's also kind of one of those things where, like, I know this sounds really stupid and like a first world problem, but when you go to the beach on vacation and like you either have to be wearing your contacts and be really careful about not getting your eyes or your face wet, you can't go underwater because you either might lose a contact, you might get an infection, it's like that much easier. You also have to make sure that like you can't wear your contacts beyond like a certain length of time every day, and you have to change them so often, blah 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 blah. I just always wanted just to be able to see. So when I was 22, I think, my vision had been stable for a while, and I was graduating university. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna try and look into getting laser eye surgery. So I went and I did the initial consultations, which are always free because, you know, that's how they kind of suck you in to get you to give them the money. And while I was told at that initial consultation, like, you know, my eyes are a bit dry, they were like, yeah, we can totally do LASIK for you, and we can like fix your vision, and that was great. And I was so hyped and I was so excited. So I went in the morning that I was supposed to get done, and obviously before they take you in, they check your eyes. And when they did that, they kind of left, and then they came back and they were like, I'm sorry, your eyes are too dry for this surgery. You can't get it today because we can't operate under those conditions. Here are some like drops. They put some plugs into my tear ducts so that my tears like wouldn't wash away so easily from my eyes, so my eyes would be better hydrated. And then they told me to wear my glasses for 2 weeks and to come back. Came back and did an appointment in an evening, and she said, yeah, your eyes look fine. I'm gonna book you in for tomorrow morning so that we can get this done, because like I've seen your eyes, I know they're fine. You know, what's going to change between now and tomorrow morning? Fine. Showed up the next day for my surgery, and I get the check again, and then they wheel me into the theater room, surgical room, whatever you want to call it, and the doctor was said basically, I'm sorry, your eyes are too dry, which I was like, what do you mean? I just got them checked yesterday. And then he started asking me a bunch of like really vague medical questions, like, do I get headaches? Yes. Do I have joint pain? Yes. And like a couple other things, and his conclusion after those like 5 minutes of asking me those questions was, oh, you probably have an autoimmune disease and that's what's causing your dry eyes. So if I operate on you today, there's a highly likely chance that if you have an autoimmune disease, it's gonna make you go blind. I think it's probably the only time in my life I've had a temper tantrum as an adult. When I got home, obviously I didn't do it in public, but I may have thrown some things around my room because I was rather upset. But I kind of had to let go of that dream at that point, because obviously it wasn't worth it to go blind on this possibility. Fast forward to a couple years later, I'm living in Edinburgh, and again, I'm getting a bit tired of wearing my contacts. I found out about this procedure that they do where they basically implant a contact lens into your eye so that you can see. And coincidentally, there's a clinic in Edinburgh that offers this procedure. It's called Laser Vision Scotland, and they're partially based at the Shawfair Spire Hospital outside of Edinburgh. So I went in for, again, the free initial consultation where they like, you know, suck you in and sell you everything. I got tons of tests done on my eyes. And at the end of it, they were like, yeah, you're totally a candidate for this. We don't think that you have an autoimmune disease. We think that you just have bad tears. basically they think that the chemical makeup of my tears is just not lubricant enough to keep my eyes super normally wet like everyone else's, I guess. The lady said that when she measured the thickness of my cornea, that I was actually too thin for laser vision surgery. So she said it was actually probably a good thing that I didn't get it, because my cornea is actually too thin for it. And the more she talked about it to me, the more I was like, okay, this seems like kind of the perfect thing, because again, while laser vision is obviously much cheaper and more widespread and easily available for people, there are some things that come along with it. So when I initially got my consultation for laser vision surgery like 8 years ago, they said to me that they have like a lifetime guarantee, so that once or if my vision goes again, they would be able to, in theory, go back in and fix it again for free, no added cost. And everyone's vision does eventually start to go again, just saying. But that depends on how much eye I have left after they burn away the first bit to fix it the first time. So it's not like a guarantee that they would be able to go back in. So once this lady was telling me more about the ICL surgery, I was like, oh, okay. She was saying that, you know, laser vision, they, you know, even if you'd been able to get it, they would never have been able to go back in and fix it. Whereas this surgery, they're basically like cutting a slot open in the side of your eye, putting a contact in, and voila. And at some point in the future, when your vision starts to go again around 45 to 50, if you so wish, you can just get it switched out, basically, without having to take away some of your eye or anything. It's very similar to like a cataract surgery, but unlike a cataract surgery where they actually get rid of the natural lens in your eye because that becomes cloudy, this actually just puts basically a lens in front of it to help you see. This is, of course, a private procedure, so I'm not getting any of it paid for through the NHS in Scotland, because obviously I could get by with glasses and contacts. Why would they need to pay for me to get a fancy surgery? It is elective. It is essentially sort of cosmetic, but not really. So I kind of went away and I thought about it, and then I decided I was going to pay to see the surgeon and talk to him, because he was going to be able to give me like an exact price, whereas this lady had just kind of given me a ballpark. So I went in and he looked at my eyes and he said, yeah, you're a candidate. I don't see why I wouldn't be able to do this. He kind of explained how the surgery would work and like how they have to do one eye and one day, and then they wait a week and then they do the second eye, yada, yada, yada. And then he told me how much it was going to cost. I was able to do a 10-month loan on 0% interest, so I'm not paying any extra money for the surgery than I would have paid if I'd had the entire amount up front. And the amount that's coming out of my bank account every month is enough that like it's part of my surplus that I have once I pay everything, and it still leaves me with a little bit money left over so I can start building my savings back up again. For me, at least, like right now is the time, because I'm turning 30 and my eyes will start to go again at some point. So I'd like to get them fixed now so that I can actually get as much use out of this as possible before my vision starts going again. And even then, when my vision starts going again, it's not like it's going to go back to what it was before, like overnight the day I turned 45. It will still be a slower process. So it might even be 20, 25 years until I need to really start wearing glasses or contacts again, which in my view is, you know, worth the money. For me in my life financially, this is probably the best time for me to do it before I have to have all of these other big financial commitments that are going to be coming down the road. As well, for people who are telling me that, you know, I could have used that money to like buy myself a car. Like, we have a car and I don't really even use it. I use the bus to get to work, and it's actually easier because I just sit on it and read my book. So I don't have to actively drive to work every day. The car is there when I need it, but it's also like, I'm not a person who is really into cars as like a status symbol. Like, our car drives us to the places that we need to be, and that is good enough for me. Plus, if you think about it, using a car, you wake up, you drive 20 minutes to work, it sits in your parking lot for 7.5 hours, then you drive it 20 minutes home, and then it sits in your parking spot at home overnight. That's just when you think about value for money and how much you're using it versus how much you paid for it, I don't really think it balances out as much as something where my eyes, I use every single waking moment of the day. So for me, it just makes more sense that I would invest money in fixing that rather than getting something that I don't really need. Although I'm sure there are people who could argue that I don't need to fix my eyes, to which I would say, do you have glasses? Because I don't really think this is something that is easy for people to understand or sympathize with if they don't have vision problems. Last week, on May 3rd, I went in and I got my right eye done. Boop. And it went okay, like my vision's fine. When I went in, they didn't sedate me at all. So the surgery itself was at like about 8 o'clock in the morning. I went into the private hospital with my partner who was driving me home. They put like a pill in my eye to dilate it, which made my eyeballs do weird things. I have a couple pictures, so I will put pictures up here so you guys can see. But yeah, I got my eye dilated for a little while, and then they took me into the theater, numbed my eye with a bunch of drops, not a needle, drops, and then iodined it, took me in, laid me on a table, and then put a huge iodine swab on my face, put a thing on it so I could block it, so like they had a square around my eye. They put in the things that keep your eye open, and then they basically had me stare into a bright light for about 15 minutes, which when I initially had it shined on my face was not pleasant, because obviously they've dilated your eye, so and your eye, when you see light, is your pupils go smaller. They want to go as small as possible because there's a lot of light there, and they couldn't do that because they were dilated, so they were actually as big as possible. And they had taken my eyelids away, so I couldn't even squint, so it was just like, ah! But like I said, I had the numbing stuff and it wasn't too bad. But it was still kind of like a bit of a nerve-wracking experience, especially when you don't really know what to expect. Like, I trusted my doctor completely, but it's still like a bit like, ah, so I was clenching my jaw a bit, and I was definitely at points when I could tell that they were doing stuff, I was holding my breath a bit, just kind of in anticipation, like, you know, when you're nervous about something and you just kind of like hold your breath until it's over. I was doing that kind of inadvertently, and he had to remind me once or twice to breathe. And I didn't feel anything in terms of, like, they had numbed my eye pretty well, but I could, like, the lights would move. And like when he put the lens in, I could feel like the pressure, and the light basically just went all the way this way for a little bit, and then you could almost, in a way, you couldn't feel it, but it like kind of popped in, and it was like, all right. And then I had to adjust it a bit. And unfortunately, because I had kind of inadvertently held my breath, he said that that had potentially had an impact upon, like, that makes your pressure go up in your body and in your eye. So when he put it in, because that had happened, the space between the window of my eye and the contact lens was a bit narrower than he would have liked. So he actually had to put a suture in my eye. So there's actually a suture like in my right eye right now. There's no way, I don't think you could see it because it is like smaller than a hair, the nurses were saying. But yeah, that was a bit crazy. And once or twice, like, the light disappeared and I was like, ah, I'm going blind, but no, it was fine. Like I said, it only took 15 minutes. I got up, they took me out into the waiting room and deposited me on a little thing. He wanted to see me again before I left, and I got some breakfast. It was probably the most expensive piece of toast and latte I've ever paid for in my life. In that, you know, how much I paid for the surgery, obviously the breakfast was free. So I used to get migraines, I don't anymore, which is something I will talk about probably in another video. But it kind of felt, it was like a migraine level headache, and it was coming and going in waves, and I was just like, ugh. And then the pills that they gave me made me feel like a bit sick, which is just a side effect. So they gave me some paracetamol, and then the doctor, about an hour after my surgery, he took me into his examine room, I guess, looked at my eye, he explained to me what had happened with the pressure, and then said, okay, I'm going to, he looked at it and he said, all right, so it's gone down back to like a normal level, I'm happy with that, but if you have any big problems, you can come back in tomorrow, blah, 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 blah. I had a big pirate patch over my face, and he released me. I went home with my partner. I basically slept for about 5 hours afterwards, because before, when I had migraines, I was pretty much the only way I could get rid of them, and it worked. And then I woke up, I had to wear the patch for the rest of the day, took it easy for the rest of the day, and then went to bed, took the patch off the next morning to like clean everything and put my first round of drops in, and I could see out of my right eye. I can't really explain how close I was to crying because I didn't want to cry, slash I'm almost gonna cry now. And then yeah, yesterday I went in for my second surgery, same time, same place. This time I actually remembered to breathe. I just focused the entire time because like I said, like you're not sedated and they don't put your head into a vice or anything. So you just have to look at this light the whole time and not move your head. So the whole time I was just in my head, I was like, don't move your head, don't move your head, breathe, don't move your head, breathe, don't move your head, breathe. Like it's just kind of doing the mantra, doing some probably quite loud breathing, but I was just kind of, that was the only way I could make myself focus on it. And as a result, the surgeon said that it actually went better than my right eye. He didn't have to put a suture into my left eye. You can actually see they marked on my forehead an arrow, which they were supposed to do. The day after my first surgery, the doctor called me on his like private mobile cell phone to check that I was okay, which was like so nice. Came home yesterday, slept for 5 hours, got up, took it easy for the rest of the evening. And then I woke up this morning and I could see. I can see perfectly with 20/20 vision. What the F? What world do we live in where these things are possible? It is just like so amazing. So like as you can see as well, this eye looks so much better than my right one did right after, because it was quite red for a while, whereas this one is just like, oh, whatever, what happened? I didn't even notice. So I'm in recovery for the next little while. I've got antibiotics and steroid drops that I'm going to be putting into my eyes for quite some time. And then in about a month, I'm going to have to go back to the doctor and get my stitch taken out of my right eye. And he's just going to check to make sure that everything's looking fine. But other than that, I'm fantastic. I can see things. My vision is actually better than when I was wearing contacts or glasses. Like I can see. It's just honestly, it's amazing. And I really couldn't thank my parents enough for helping me out with some of paying for this. The doctors and all the nurses at the hospital, I just want to really thank them. This has been amazing. Obviously, I'm just like one day after the surgery, but the fact that I can already see stuff is just like so exciting. And oh my God, and I'm like going on vacation this summer and I'm gonna be able to go swimming and put my head in the water and be able to see things and not have to worry about getting an infection. And like, I can like wake up in the middle of the night and like go and do stuff without like stumbling around blind because I can't see anything. And I'm gonna be able to like see my partner's face the like first thing when I wake up in the morning, which like sounds really sappy and stupid, but like that's just gonna be really great. The amount of space that I'm gonna be saving in my luggage from not having to pack my glasses, my contact fluid, my contact case, like the money that I'm gonna have to save is not gonna make me break even close, I think, on how much I spent on the surgery, but it's gonna save me money every month after I finish my payments in having to pay for new contacts, new glasses, and contact fluid. Contact fluid is my #1 thing that I hate getting because I always seem to run out of it right when I'm inconveniently not in a place where I can quickly get some more. I'm gonna save so much like shelf space in my bathroom from not having to have all of that stuff on there. You know, sleepovers, going places, all this stuff that I'm not gonna have to remember anymore. All small things, but like is really making an impact. Yeah, this has been my video about my, I guess, vision journey, as I said at the beginning, from when I was 8 and I started not being able to see things on the board to where I'm 29 and I can now have 20/20 vision. And it's so exciting. Yeah!